My name, Irlianna Samsara, was not my birth name. It's a spiritual name.
Seriously, like that's mind-blowing. I mean, that was an experience, really. I mean, that was like multi-dimensional. I mean, okay, we're here to talk about Uranus opposition. There are so many incredible things in our history that happened when people went through their Uranus opposition. And we're going to be talking to Irlianna about her experience on the other side of the Uranus opposition. Richard Tarnas, the writer of Cosmos and Psyche, this is what he says about the Uranus opposition. The Uranus opposite Uranus transit regularly coincided with a period of life in which inner experience and external events presented a distinct quality, strongly suggested the active presence of the same Promethean archetype principle. Translation, it means everybody has this rebellion, this opportunity to really grab the reins of our lives and remove the things that may not be working anymore. That's what Uranus does best. So I want to ask you, Irlianna, what is your experience with Uranus? But first of all, where is your Uranus in your chart?
My natal Uranus is in Leo.
But you're also a Leo sun, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
They're not conjunct.
The Leo sun and
co-present,
Uranus are co-present. So I would imagine that makes it even more of a energy that's resonating with your core being. Those energies, like when it does come to you, it probably really you feel it deeply.
Yeah, and the call of this lifetime is to be myself, like be my own brilliant, unique, weird, geeky self. I mean, I had like buck teeth, and I had like, and I was really, really skinny. I mean, I thought of it now, like, oh no, I was like this geeky kid, the weird kid that nobody wanted to pick for kickball or softball or baseball and I was like really bad at sports. The Uranus archetype is to talk about the UBU is seriously with Uranus and Leo generation. It was like, you seriously better be you. Uranus is like coming from the future into the now, and Leo being the light, the sun, the brilliant creative essence of who we are. But I remember I looked back in the years and months that I had my Uranus opposition, and what it coincided with: 5th house, 11th house. So love affairs and community.
Which one is the 11th house and which one is the 5th house? Where are you coming from?
Uranus in the 11th.
So natal Uranus in the 11th in Leo with the sun. The opposition will be coming from the 5th house to the 11th.
At that time, I remember I got into a relationship with a man that was a lot older than me. What it actually came down to was it had to do with me letting go of myself in the self of living my life for me and for others. I was living in Sedona at the time when my Uranus opposition started. I ended up moving so I can be with a community, a beautiful spiritual community of people who are my dear friends and they're like family to me. It was happening inside of a larger conversation called give your talents and skills and your life to being in service to humanity. Don't live your life for just yourself.
Are you saying before your Uranus opposition that you were living more of an individual life? Like more
it was living for me. Yeah. Like my own, like I've always wanted to, I was living in New York City and I was like, wow, I always want to live out West. And so I did, I moved out West, and that was great. It was an important part of my huge growth, big chapter of my life. But then there came this time when the Uranus opposition happened where I was just, okay, it's no longer about me.
You moved to Sedona for yourself because you wanted to live out West.
Yes.
And then during your Uranus opposition, you were starting to understand your 11th house Uranus and your sun, that you're there for a community. You want to be more in a spiritual community and shine your light onto a communal group.
I want to also bring in something else. My name, Irlianna Samsara, was not my birth name. Oh. And it's a spiritual name found in meditation, and I legally changed it. It's both my first and my last name are not my birth name. So I legally changed my name. And so there's another evidence of Uranus opposition of this, when you think about the name being like the sun, Leo, right? The sun, the identity. So the identity was coming from, you could say that this is the name of my higher self. This is the source code. This is the vibration that you carry in every incarnation. To discover that name, it came to me in the Akashic records, and to to discover this and to claim it, like legally show up in the courtroom and stand in front of a judge, so that was my Uranus opposition. So it was a name from, you could say, my future self, or whatever, however you want to phrase it.
So this was when Uranus was in Aquarius then, yeah?
Yes. Let's talk about how my parents freaked out. No,
That's what I was going to say next.
Yeah.
That's the ultimate act of rebellion, is to declare yourself as an individual. I'm claiming my own self. That feels super Uranus opposition to me.
And talk about outsider. I mean, my parents, they loved me very much. I can still see myself in that. I think it was in the dining room of their house. I knew they were going to freak out. I mean, they're Catholic and they're like wonderful people, but I said, and by the way, I changed my name. I kind of like slipped it in there. And my mother was like, oh, we named you, my first name. What my mother had it mean is that I didn't love her. She immediately went to like, oh, I guess that, I'm like, she put all this meaning on. I'm like, no, it doesn't mean that at all. I still love you. I'll always love you. That's nothing to do with that. Uranus opposition, being that outsider, but staking that claim.
When we get to that point, we have a choice. There's like a fork in the road where you can either keep going by your old name and living under those precepts or foundations that really don't belong to you, the meanings that other people put onto your name for you, versus standing apart as an individual and just not putting up with that anymore. That it's time. You could have made a choice to go the other way and been like, no, I'm not going to take this step because it puts me as an outsider. It puts me in an opposition to my family. It's too much. And it can be for some people, yeah. But that's the trick. Like, I bet after you've made that choice, your life completely changed.
Oh, absolutely. The Uranus opposition is just the situation is presented, and it is free will. I know that if I didn't do that, I mean, oh my God, if you make that change at the Uranus opposition, great. If you don't, then it basically saying like it comes back to haunt you.
Is this going to keep coming at you and hitting you and hitting you? And it's not like everybody needs to change their name. Yours is very specific to you because it has to do with your sun, your identity, the signs that it was in. The Leo is the individual versus the collective of the of Aquarius, doing something for the greater good. We are also individual. So my Uranus opposition came between the 1st and 7th axis. So I have Uranus in the 1st house. So it was very personal how I expressed myself out to the world. I could have kept holding myself back and holding myself in. But once I stopped doing that, like, I was liberated, I was freed. And that's really Uranus language. Getting to the point where it's not that you don't care what anybody thinks anymore. It's just, it doesn't really matter that much anymore, because honestly, people don't really think about us as much as we think about us. We need to live ourselves out as most authentically as we can, most purely as we can, because then you're a light for someone else. Like, you could have gone your whole life by that other name and that would have been fine. But is it authentically you?
Now that I knew what my real, then it's like, okay, here it is. It was handed to me on this silver platter. And then it's about me stepping up, getting serious about liberation. Like, okay, bring it, show me.
Well, did it change your feelings about relationships? Like, after that, did you feel differently?
Who I would be in relationship, the way in which I would view relationships, and the context in which I would date people and have romance, 5th house, was being mindful of the larger community that I was a part of, not just one person. I'm telling you, it's not easy. It's the hardest thing I've ever done, Elle, in my whole life, is living in community. Hardest thing. Oh, unbelievable.
So a little bit more, like, what do you mean? What kind of community was it?
We all found each other through the years, soul tribe, you could say. We all, like, you have like soul agreements that you meet people at certain times in your life, and collectively uplifting whatever area you're in, whatever part of the world you're in. If you're in a spiritual community, whether there's quote walls or not, physical walls or not, it's the shared commitment to giving your life for something larger, bringing that to the world, and uplifting the area that you live in.
Did you have any sort of like lightning bolt moment where it was a before and after feeling, or did it ramp up?
When I got my spiritual name, it was in a spiritual teaching. I saw my name, and then in that moment, I'm like, oh, okay. And changing it was like, oh yeah, this is who I am. And I got clear after that weekend. Actually, I kind of did this meditation where I went into the future and I saw myself living in this place not Sedona. And I'm like, wow, that's interesting. Didn't see that. You know how Uranus energy, you don't see it coming out of nowhere. It's not like, oh, I know it's gonna, and then this linear progression, it's non-linear. Wow. Okay. Didn't see that coming. And I remember flying back to Sedona, looking around, and I'm going energetically. I had spent many, many years before astrology, sound healing and energy medicine. And I remember feeling like, I don't belong here anymore. It was as if I was landing in, Akron, Ohio for all it was. And I was like, okay. And then I'm like, well, I'll feel it when I get to Sedona. Oh, I still don't feel it. Still don't feel it. Then I get into town, nothing.
Let me get that timeline right. So you were in a spiritual experience where you saw your name flashed. Then you had a flash of a vision of the community. And then you came home to Sedona.
Yeah.
And didn't feel like you were at home anymore. Okay.
Yeah. Like it was done. I didn't realize it when I left. When I came back, it was like everything around me had changed. And I'm like, okay, there's nothing else to do but to have a garage sale and pack up. When I think about it now, it was like a past life. I mean, it was so different.
Just like a before and after moment. Completely.
Yes, totally. That was I don't know how it is for everybody. Of course, it's Uranus. It's unique to everybody, but yeah, that's how it was for me.
Now, on the other side of it, do you look back on it as making the right decision for yourself?
Absolutely. Yeah. Was it easy? No. I had to say things to people like, hey, that's not my name anymore. And, what do you mean? Like my parents, I mean, they weren't hostile or anything, but they certainly didn't understand. It's just not what my life's about. And okay, weirdo. And I was like, no.
I'm proud, right? Got to be authentic. That's the whole point. And some authenticity paths are harder than others because they just don't correlate with the expectations of society or the expectations of what people project onto us, right?
Yeah. I remember thinking, okay, you know what? I'm weird. I'm weird. And don't try to be normal. You're weird. You're always gonna be. You've been weird. You are weird. You're always gonna be weird. Get over it. And then when I could get over it, I'm like, guess what, everybody? I'm weird. And I did crystal bowl healing and sent in the language of light and did all these outrageous, assisted with healing for people. Everybody loved it, and they got their freak flag on. They'd come up to me and go, I'm so glad. Like I feel like I can be myself here. I'm like. And then we give other people permission to be themselves. And
I would love to hear some of your sound. I've been looking forward to that the whole time I've known you, to be honest.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Yes, ma'am.
All right. Let's hear it, girl.
Uranus has entered the house.
Yeah.
I'll just sing to who I feel. It's always in the present moment. So.
Yeah. So you were saying that it's different depending on the moment that you're in.
Yeah. I mean, and I have no control over it. Is there anything you want me to like send light to, like a situation in your life, or because it opens telepathic messages
to just really have clarity and authenticity to keep channeling goodness to the world.
Oh, I know. You have such a good heart. Okay. Okay, I have messages here. How are you, first of all?
Good. That was beautiful.
I don't know why it just showed up, but we don't ask, right? Just who cares why? That's the linear mind. But that's who you are, your beautiful essence.
Wow, that was amazing.
I hope that was useful.
Oh my God, you're so seriously, why? Oh my gosh, you are so good. That means a lot to me. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Yeah.
That's mind-blowing. I mean, that was an experience, really.
That's exactly what I saw. White cubes. Yeah, crystal.
Yeah, it was like a rectangular thing.
Yes.
Like this.
Exactly. Yeah, wow. You're tuned in.
Thank you, Irlianna.
Oh yeah, no, thank you.
Really just lean into who you are and stop trying to be somebody you're not. And if it's weird, that's beautiful.
Weird is beautiful. That's the new mantra.
Like we're ahead of the game. Like if you can accept all of the components, like all of those things that you are. Thank you for doing this with me.
Yay. Okay. Thank you. And we will talk soon.
Okay. Thank you.
All right.
Bye.
Take care.